Hey guys, what's up? It's Alex here, and today we are here to do a review of the second episode of the new season of Top Gear, season 23. And I suppose today you could say it was the SUV challenge. That was the main part of the video. We'll get onto that in a little bit, but first off, I do want to say thank you to everyone that tuned in to the last episode of the Top Gear review thing. I might do this every week, I'm not too sure. We'll just see how it goes. Obviously that first video got a lot of support, which is great. Obviously got a lot of people disagreeing with my opinions as well, which is perfectly fine. I don't mind if people disagree, as long as it's intelligent feedback for the comment section. I really don't mind, but you know, just don't have a go at each other at the end of the day. I don't care if you have a go at me, but just don't have a go at each other. There's no point at the end of the day. If you disagree with someone's opinion, it's cool, but you don't always need to have a go at them. So yeah, that is that. And always, I really would appreciate a like on the video. Obviously this video will generally probably get dislikes for people, you know, sort of not agreeing with my opinions. At the end of the day, the like dislike button isn't there to say whether you agree with my opinions, it's whether you think the video is any good. So I would appreciate a like on the video if you did enjoy this video, and you know, just leave your comments down below as well. That would be appreciated. But anyway, let's get off to the sort of first part of this episode. It wasn't the SUV part that started out off, it was sort of a McLaren F1 and McLaren 675 longtail sort of video, sort of, I guess, sort of tributing some of the best new McLaren cars that we've ever had. Obviously starting off by talking about the McLaren F1, which was an incredible car, then they improved it, and then they improved it again with the F1 Longtail, which is an incredible car. It looked just like the ones they raced at Le Mans, and it's nice to have something different, in my opinion. Nice to have some classic cars, you know, them driving at insane speeds around the test track. It was really cool to see, and I love seeing cars like that, something that's just a little bit different. I think that's one of the big things about Top Gear. Obviously they have a big budget and they can show us different cars that we haven't seen before, so that was cool to see that on the screen. And I think, as I said, it was an incredible spectacle to see something I've never seen before. Obviously I've seen the race car, but I haven't ever seen the road version of that car. It looks absolutely incredible. So more stuff like that would be a highlight for me, to see more incredible sort of different cars on the show. And something else obviously it moved on to was the McLaren 675 LT, a bit of a mouthful of a name, but that was the second part of the review, which was Chris Evans, you know, looking at the new car, the new McLaren car that's come out, and in my opinion it had really lovely camera shots and editing. Something that Top Gear's always been very good at is that sort of thing, and that's something I'm obviously really interested in, I want to do as a career. So I love the camera work and the editing in this whole sort of segment here. The whole show was pretty decent, to be perfectly honest, but this part really did stand out for me. And to be perfectly honest, I didn't actually find it cringy. I found obviously quite a few parts in that first episode quite cringy, but this second episode, it seemed to just work a little bit better in terms of this car review. It sort of flowed a lot better, and I don't think he was trying to copy Jeremy Clarkson as much, which was obviously a big disappointment with that first episode. He did seem to copy, you know, Jeremy Clarkson as much as possible, but this one he seemed to just sort of, because obviously Chris Evans is a massive car fan, and this sort of made him embrace his, you know, thoughts and opinions on a car, not trying to act like someone else. I really liked it, actually, to be perfect, and I thought it was a pretty decent review. Obviously we're still adapting to the new style, and obviously it's still not going to be quite like the old one, and obviously some people like that, some people dislike that, but we're going to have to adapt it. Obviously the Grand Tour will be out in a few months time, so we'll get a chance to look at that as well. Of course I'll do some videos on that if you guys are interested, but it's slightly different. In my opinion it was a pretty decent review and a lot better than the first episode. And it was also nice to see Jensen Button coming for a bit of a starring role there as well. He added a bit of humour, not by really, you know, pointing out little things about the finishes of the car whilst he was like going sideways, like the Alcantara finishing and the radio and stuff like that. It was just cool. I mean, Jensen Button is a great character to have. And what do you guys think? Would he be a cool F1 presenter when he retires from Formula 1? I definitely think so. I think he was actually linked to being part of the team already this sort of season, but I really would love to see Jensen Button in Top Gear. He'd be really good to be like testing cars. I mean, it just seems like a perfect character, to be perfectly honest. But they ended up going alright, and the McLaren 675 actually went top of their sort of leaderboard, which is pretty impressive as well. Pretty crazy lap time. Obviously it looks like an incredible car. Still not as great as the old McLaren F1 in my opinion, but leave your comments down below about what you thought about that as well. But then we moved on to sort of the big segment of this show, which was the Mercedes. These are all like big SUVs. Mercedes driven by Eddie Jordan, Porsche driven by Matt LeBlanc, and Jaguar driven by Chris Evans. And To be perfectly honest, guys, this was a really good segment in my opinion. It wasn't as good as the old segments in my opinion, but it was a big improvement over that first episode. So, in my opinion, definitely a big step up in this second episode, and this sort of segment sort of summed it up quite well for me. Obviously, they had a few guests, Tiny Temper, Eddie Jordan, I can't remember what the woman's name is, but they sort of all went together in two-man teams to sort of do some challenges around Africa in these 3 big SUVs. I think the first challenge, or the whole challenge in general, was to try and get to the highest pub in Africa, and obviously the winner, both teams had a music artist, and obviously the winner would perform in the pub, and the other two would have to sort of do forfeits in a way. So that was the main aim, and the first sort of mini challenge in all this was a 3-lap race around the streets. And in this part, I don't know whether you guys agree, Eddie Jordan just seemed a bit awkward. I don't know whether he sort of entirely got used to the role so far in the top, sort of presenting. It seemed a bit awkward. Obviously, he's great with Formula 1 and his insight and all that, but it just seemed a little bit awkward in the start of this part here. I mean, maybe he was just getting used to obviously driving and being part of the team, but it got better throughout the whole segment. So Eddie did seem a bit awkward, but Matt ended up quickest in his Porsche at the end there. He was in the Porsche Macan. I can't remember what the Jaguar is called, but it looks pretty crazy. It was a massive car, and the Mercedes in there as well. And whilst they were on the drive after the 3-lap race, there was some stunning views. It was really cool. The camera work in that was really good as well. And that's something obviously I've always loved about Top Gear. They just put so much, effort into the production of it, and something that will never go away. Obviously, they get the best staff, they get the best equipment, and it all works out really well, and it's just incredible stuff. And after the little drive, they had a bit of a race on a dirt track to try and keep a drink in a glass. It was a bit of a challenge. Eddie cheated by putting some cling film over his, and at the end Chris Evans put like water in his to fill his back up. I mean, it's not like a classic Top Gear challenge, but it's something, and it's not like, it adds a bit of humour into it as well. Obviously, them spilling it all in the cars. Obviously, these cars cost like crazy money, and seeing them spilling loads of like drinking it is, I don't know whether you guys think that's funny or not. Maybe it's just me being weird, but yeah, I did find that a little bit funny. Then trying to drive fast, but at the same time trying to hold these glasses steady. But Eddie actually ended up winning through cheating. But that was sort of, by doing that, he got the best 10th for the night ahead. And then it went on to a break, which was the celebrity lap. There was only sort of 3 main segments. Obviously, that car review at the start and the McLaren, and then obviously the SUV challenge, and then the star of the car. 4 people did seem a bit too much on the sofa. You couldn't really get much insight. I mean, I always liked it, and I never really was a massive fan of the star and the reasonably priced car, but when it was 1-to-1, you could normally get a bit of humour and a bit of insight to celebrity if you didn't really know them. So 4 people just seemed a bit too much. Obviously, Eddie Jordan in there as well, and Chris Evans. I can't remember. I'm really not good with remembering names, but Chris Evans obviously had a person in the SUV challenge as well that he was sort of helping him with. I can't remember his name as well, but they all seemed alright. I mean, they weren't like awkward or whatever, which was good. Obviously, you never know whether you pick celebrities out at random that aren't really used to like driving cars and all that sort of stuff. As like on a TV show, you don't know whether they'll be awkward or not, but it also did seem alright. And the stunner reasonable price car, I mean, it did seem like they were just trying to promote themselves. Obviously, the main guy, obviously there've been a lot of TV shows, and obviously it did seem to like just be a bit of self-promotions, but I suppose it always was like a bit like that, but it did just seem a bit too much, to be perfectly honest. And I mean, I've never been a fan of the star and the reasonable price car, but it did seem to drag on a little bit in my opinion. I mean, it just went on a bit too long, and it's kind of hard to sit through it. I mean, it went on for like 20 minutes pretty much, and that was just too much in my opinion. I mean, I've never been a fan of it in the first place, and it just dragged on a bit too much. I mean, 10 minutes max in my opinion. You can get all the stuff you really need in there. But then let's get back to the second part of the SUV challenge, and the first part of the second part, if it makes any sense, was to try and capture some wildlife using the rear view cameras on the cars. Also, they're all fitted with reversing cameras so that you don't crash into things when reversing. And I think this is actually pretty cool. I mean, I know it sounds stupid, but it's actually using the cameras, which are a pivotal part of cars nowadays. Obviously, if you've got a massive car, it's kind of hard to park it. So it's actually kind of cool to see them trying to do something like a little bit different here. I mean, I don't know whether they'd have generally done challenges like this in the old Top Gear. I mean, it is slightly a little bit different. I mean, obviously it wasn't that entertaining, but Tiny Temper, I don't want to say teeny temper. Tiny temper added a bit of humour in there as well, talking about zebras and how excited he was to see them. But yeah, I mean, it's just something a little bit different. I mean, obviously, this whole Top Gear is just something a little bit different, and we're going to have to get used to it. But at the end of the day, in my opinion, that wasn't too bad, that part there. And actually using the rear view cameras, like, you obviously, I don't know whether any people actually really interested in these cars wanting to buy them, but you could see there they are coming into a bit of use, which I suppose is important if someone was looking to buy one. And then after that part, after they'd finished that challenge, Eddie Jordan actually crashed his car like twice, which you'd have thought, even though he's a pretty skilled driver there, but he ended up crashing it because he didn't put it in the off-road mode or something. I mean, yeah. I don't know, Eddie Jordan, something that just didn't particularly work for me. I had nothing against him, obviously. I think he was really good on the F1 coverage for BBC, but just something in this sort of segment didn't quite work for me. I mean, I'm sure he'll be back. I mean, he'll be back, I'm sure, because of him being sort of heavily promoted in all the previews and stuff, but I don't know. I definitely would prefer to see Chris Evans definitely being part of these sort of three-man teams. That'd be quite cool in my opinion. And then we finally got after that to the race to the finish, which was, there wasn't much content in there except from them just trying to get through the border gate and all that. But there was definitely some stunning camera shots in there once again. Production value on point as always from the Top Gear guys. And in the end, Tiny Temper and Matt LeBlanc ended up winning. Obviously, from the whole thing, it did look like the Jaguar was probably the best car out of all of them. What do you guys think? Leave down below. I mean, would you, if you had the money, would you prefer the Porsche, Mercedes, or the Jaguar out of those three cars? Definitely interested to know what you guys think. As always, leave your comments down below. Let me know in the comment section down below as well, guys, whether you'd like me to review Extra Gear. I haven't watched the second sort of episode just yet. I'm going to go and watch it as I'm rendering this one. But thanks for watching once again this video. Spanks, I'm out here. Goodbye.